Hello and welcome to another edition of Teen Yoga. I'm your instructor Mike and I'm glad to have you all with me this evening. What I was thinking about doing for this particular practice, sort of a stress relieving practice with the neck and the shoulders. Often most people tend to hold their stress up into their neck and into their shoulders, sometimes even down into their wrists and into their fingers. So I wanted to specifically target those areas by doing a couple of stretches, some gentle movement here and there. But my idea is to start with the neck and work the way down. Maybe even do a little bit of the upper back, potentially the lower back, but primarily neck, shoulders, fingers, wrists, and upper back. This is a unique style of practice. Most of the time, stretching and just yoga in general tends to take place between the knees and the navel, so hips and spine are the primary areas. But today, again, we're gonna change things up a little bit and do something a little bit different. So why don't we go ahead and get started? And we'll begin this in a comfortable position. You could just be laying down on your yoga mat. You could lay on the floor if you're on carpet. Wherever you're just most comfortable, go there and then close your eyes. Nothing really to see at this point, just more to feel and pay attention to. I want you to focus on your breath and breathe low in your belly, low in your diaphragm. If you'd like to double check if you're doing this correctly, place a hand on your stomach below your belly button. You're going to feel the stomach expand when you take an inhale. It will contract when you take an exhale. And this is belly breathing. It's the breathing technique that I recommend for the practice because it helps to slow things down, slows the nervous system down, slows the heart rate down, slows the mind down. And again, what we're doing today, a little bit of yin yoga, primarily for the upper body, the neck, shoulders, and the wrists. With this, if you find yourself struggling in the practice, it's not an abnormal thing. If you find out that you can't do a certain pose here and there, I will offer modifications for you. There's always a different way for you to approach this, whether it's in a modification in the pose I give you or just a different pose altogether. But what I want you to do is let experience be your guide. Let your body tell you what you need to do. When you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. And we're going to start our practice off with the neck. So the first thing that we're going to do here, we're just going to do a couple of light stretches, probably about 3 or 4 with all these different sides of the neck. But the first one I want you to do, doesn't matter which side you start with, take an ear and lift that ear up to the ceiling. You're going to feel some lengthening throughout the side of the neck. Could be a deeper stretch to lift the ear as opposed to trying to get the ear to the shoulder. Oftentimes when we try to crunch that ear to the shoulder, we end up overextending, potentially hurting ourselves. But this is less likely to cause an injury, and I think more likely to increase the stretch anyway. And when you're ready, you come back to the center. Other side, right? So you lift that ear, elevating throughout the side of the neck. And with these neck and shoulder stretches, we're going to hold them for maybe 30 seconds to a minute. The smaller the joint, the less time is required in a pose. And when you're ready, you come back to the center, moving around a little bit. And we're going to stretch the front of the neck. We'll start with the front. Go ahead and lift your chin up to the ceiling, trying to not crank back in your neck, but lift up with your chin. You might feel the front of the neck stretch, potentially even the jaw. When you're ready, you can release it. You're going to bend the head forward. Chin to chest if you can get there. If not, it's fine. But I want you to feel the back of your neck stretching. When you're ready, really slowly lift it up. Just move around a little bit. We're going to do a few more. Go ahead and turn your head to the left, just to the point where you start meeting resistance, not past that. you're ready, you can release it. You'll turn your head to the right, again to the point where you meet resistance and not past that. And when you're ready, release it. Move around a little bit. We got one more neck stretch, direct neck stretch. Try to envision 0 degrees is in front of you, 90 degrees on each of your shoulders. So what we're going to do, we're going to stretch the back and the sides of the neck by using a little muscular effort and using these angles to our advantage. We'll start by taking the right hand on the back of your head. I want you to pull your head down to the right to around 30 to 60 degrees. And you can feel the back left side of your neck stretching. Just be nice and gentle here. Don't yank your head down to get the deepest stretch possible. Oftentimes when we pull too much, we're going to overstretch. And I'd rather you understretch than overstretch. When you're ready, release it. Move it around. And then the other side. And if you're on the same page as me, it's now your left hand on the back of your head, pulling your head down to the left to around 30, 60 degrees for the back right side of the neck. But two sides are different. You might have to pull a little bit more. You might have to play around with the angle here. But don't worry about the alignment. Right? We're worried about the feeling. Do I feel the intention of this? When you're ready, release it. Move it around. And just for good measure, take the neck into its full range of motion. You can do a circle a few times one way. Go a few times the other way. Doing your best to balance. When you feel your balance, go ahead and rest your neck at the center. And that right there is just the neck. We're going to be doing a little bit of shoulder work here now. But with the shoulder stretches, we're going to hold them for a little bit longer, about a minute or two with each individual stretch. And we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to do the inside, we're going to do the top, we're going to do the back of this. So what we'll do to start this off, we're going to loosen it up. Hands to shoulder blades, I want you to rotate. Just nothing crazy, right? You just want to loosen up these joints because again, we're going to hold them for longer. With the neck, again, being a smaller joint, it's not really necessary to go to full range to start it off. But make sure you go both ways, right? That is the golden rule of yoga. If you're going to go one way, you got to go the other, just for the sake of balance. And then shake it off when you're ready. And we're going to do what's called the eagle arm pose. This can be a stretch for the back of your shoulder. We'll do the back left shoulder just so we're all on the same page. It's a lot easier for me to explain as an instructor. So what you're going to do, you're going to have your left arm on top of your right. You kind of cross these over, but your elbows are going to stack. If you can grab your hands, go for it. If you can't, just straighten your left arm. But what I want you to do here is pull your left arm to the right side, right? You're pulling that arm away, feel the back left shoulder, and modify as much as you want to. Some people will feel little to nothing, in which case you're going to have to pull a little bit more. But if you're feeling too much, you come back to the center. You can do other things like lift the arm up or lower down. We call it the sleeping eagle. We start bending forward. But really, wherever you start feeling the stretch, that's where I want you to be, right? So if you're feeling it better upright, then stay upright. But this is a really important area to focus on. Again, a lot of people, I would say the majority of people who live in a physical body will have some tension and some tightness in their shoulders. And one of the reasons for it is because, I'm not sure if you're aware of the anatomy of this, but the only place where your shoulders, your arms are actually connected to your spine is through your collarbone. The rest of it is all suspended by muscles and connective tissues. So those muscles and connective tissues have to do extra work just to hold the arms up. That's why they become so tight, which is not an abnormal thing. But when you're ready, just real slow and let it out. Move it around a little bit and just kind of shake it off. Get some blood flow back into it. And we'll do the other side. If you're on the same page as me, it is the right arm now on top of your left. elbows stacked. Grab the hands if you can, and if not, it's fine. Straighten your right arm. But I want you to pull your right arm now to the left side of your body, right? You're pulling it away to feel the back right side of the shoulder stretch. Two sides are different. So if you have to pull more, go for it. You need a little bit less, come back to the center. But you can lift up or even lower down. I'm actually right into the stretch. I didn't have to modify at all, and I found exactly the stretch that I needed. And if it's the same way for you, I'd recommend staying there. Right? Try to find those sweet spots wherever they are for you, because they're different for everybody, and they are different every single day, because your body is constantly changing at every moment of the day. In fact, I think cells, they grow and die off so fast that in 7 years from now, you won't have a single cell in your body that's the same. So think about that. In 7 years from now, you're going to be completely different on the cellular level. That means physically, and then probably emotionally, because a lot can happen in 7 years. And when you're ready, let it go. Just move it around a little bit, get that blood flow back, right? We're going to do another shoulder stretch. This one is called the broken wing pose. And this is going to be a stretch for your rotator cuff. It's your supraspinatus tendon, if we want to be anatomically correct, but it runs directly over the tops of your shoulders here. And we're going to lay on our backs to make this one work. So what I'll have you do here, lay on your back. We'll do it on the same page. You're going to have your left hand behind your back. Your palm, let me face it this way, your palm is going to be facing out. So when you do this, it's actually going to be facing the floor. So you're going to lay down, palm down. You can have your knees bent, feet on the floor, straighten your legs. Honestly, wherever you want to put your legs, it's really up to you. But the stretch is going to run over the top of this left shoulder. But there are a couple of ways to modify it. If it's not enough, bring your hand higher up the back. Too much, lower the hand down the back. And even experiment going to the sides, like the left side of your back or to the right side, just to find out where you're most comfortable with this shoulder and feel a nice stretch. For me on my left side, my hand likes to be higher up. You know, I have a different range of motion, a little bit deeper of a range on the left side. So if I need more in this rotator cuff stretch, I'll slide the hand up higher. But again, don't worry about going as deep as possible. Underdo it if that's the case, especially if it's the first time, because I don't want you to hurt yourself. But the more we do it, the more experienced we become, the easier it is to know where exactly your limits are. When you're ready, there's a time. The easiest way out of this is to roll away from your arm. So you roll to the right, let the left arm out, move it around, and just feel it for a moment. Feel the difference between your two arms. What does that left arm feel like as opposed to the right? But when you're ready, we're going to do the other side. So again, if you're on the same page as me with this one, it's now the right arm that's going to be behind the back. So remember, your palm faces out, so the palm will actually be touching the floor here. So you'll lay on your back, right hand behind your back. Like I had mentioned, knees bent, feet on the floor is fine, or straightening your legs wherever you're most comfortable. Just go there with it, but I want you to feel the right shoulder getting the stretch. I mentioned two sides are different. Maybe on this side you're noticing it. It's not enough. You got to slide the hand higher up the back. Or it's too much. You got to lower down. You got to go to the left side. You got to go to the right side. For me, on this side, my right arm doesn't have as much of a range of motion as my left. So I have to keep my right hand down on this side because I don't want to overdo it. Right? Like I mentioned, and I say it all the time, I would rather you understretch. But try to find out this sweet spot of where you need to be. I try to give you the scale of stretching too, between 1 and 10. If 10 is your deepest stretch, go for around 6 and 7 because you're less likely to overstretch there. Find a nice moderate stretch, that sweet spot. When you're ready, there's time. Roll away from the arm. Just go left, let the arm out, maybe just move it around a little bit. Shake it off if you need. And take that moment, just lay down and observe it. But while we're laying down, we're going to do a twist. But while we're in the twist, we're going to stretch our shoulder. One of the reasons why I like to do it this way is just because of the rotation of your pelvis can really open up the twist up into the upper body. So it's going to help work into the shoulder a little bit. But before we do that, let's go ahead and bring the knees to the chest. I want you to cradle your legs. Just rock up and down a little bit, side to side. Make circles, crack your back if you can. If you can, that's great. If not, no big deal. So what we're going to do here, again, a reclining twist pose. We actually did this the class before, but what we're going to do is throw in a shoulder stretch. I'm going to twist to the left here, and there's a reason for it. Partly it's because I'm facing the camera this way. So you're going to lay on your back, knees up to the chest, take your legs over to the left. I want you to lay them on the floor here. So what you're going to feel in your back is a broad side body stretch, right? That is part of this. Really, it's the main intention if you're doing a reclining twist pose. But how we can work the shoulders is by taking our right arm out to the side. So almost like you're going arms out to the T here, right? But with this, you're going to feel the inside of the right chest and shoulder stretch. Something that you can play around with, where exactly your arm is. Is it higher up? Is it lower down? I'm keeping it here just because I think it's easier to see. And then we're also going to play around with palm up and palm down. Try that out too, just to see which one is going to work a little bit better for you. You might already be in the increased way on this. I'm trying to figure out where the sweet spot is for me today, because again, every day it's a little bit different. So some days are just easier to find, and other days, it feels like it takes a minute or two before you can settle on anything. That's just how different your body is, right? Every day, something is different, and that's because of what's a feature in our body that's called contracture. And this means that every moment of the day, your body is tightening. Essentially, it's tightening. So if you're not moving, think of how tight you're going to be. And that's exactly why we feel very stiff in the morning. First thing that we do is we start feeling stiff after long periods of lack of movement. So sleeping 6 to 8 hours and lack of movement, you're going to feel tight. So the first thing you do, you get up, you loosen up, and then you can go about your day. We'll say if you're ready, there's your time. Just real slow, letting yourself out, unwinding from your twist. Just take a moment, right? Relax here. Knees up to chest if you need it, or just lay flat. We are going to do the other side, right? We have to do the other side. You don't want to stretch one and not the other. So again, I'm going to flip over here so it's easier to see. But we're going to twist our legs to the right. So you're going to lay on your back, twist the legs over to the right, just lay them on the floor. Here's your pose to feel the left side of the back, right? That's the intention here. And then we're going to throw in the shoulder. With the shoulder, take the left arm out to the T here. And you can have palm up, you can have palm down. Either way is fine. Try it out because they both will create a different sensation. And you can do things like lift the arm higher up. You can lower it down. You could have it exactly in the middle. Just wherever you're finding that sweet spot, right? Go there. But it's inside of the left chest and shoulder. That's the intended area here. This is a pretty difficult area to stretch. But we can make it work when we're laying on the floor relatively easy. But another way that you could always do this, if you're standing upright and you're close to a wall, you put that palm, that arm on the wall, and you just turn away from it. Right? So that's still going to get you that chest and shoulder stretch, but there's going to be a point where you're not really stretching this anymore, and you're probably going to feel what's called compression, where bones run into each other. And just for your knowledge, I know this is kind of deep into the anatomy, but the humerus, your big arm bone, at some point is going to start hitting either your scapula, which is your shoulder blade, or the acromion process, which is the shoulder joint itself. And if it starts hitting bone on bone pain, it's not going to be a stretch anymore. You'll be able to point with your finger and say, I feel it right here on the back of my shoulder, right where my arm bone runs into my shoulder. There's nothing left to stretch through at that point, in which case we have to modify it. We have to find a different way to make it work. If you're ready, there's your time. Slowly unwind, bring yourself back to the center. Let's move it around a little bit. We're going to do one more shoulder stretch. It's going to partly be a forward bend here, and we're going to use a little bit of rhythm and repetition. It's not necessarily going to be just like a deep stretch like we've been doing. There's going to be some movement involved with this one. We're actually going to head for a child's pose. If you're not familiar with the child's pose, you're coming onto your hands and knees like this, and you're laying down. Right? So here's the child's pose itself. But what we're going to do here, to open up the chest and shoulder again, I want you to lace your fingertips behind your back. You're going to lift your arms up. You're going to go side to side here. Don't worry about how high can you go, because again, you're probably going to hit your compression points. You'll start feeling the bone-on-bone pain in the back of your shoulders. If that's the case, lower it down and just kind of work it here, right? So again, not really a stretch, just more rhythm and repetition to loosen up the area. When you're ready, just go ahead and lower down. You have the arms at your sides here. You can always put your arms behind your back if you'd like to. Arms in front of you is fine as well. When you're ready, you can head back to a comfortable position, whether that is sitting or laying down. But we are at the end of our practice again, just the neck and shoulder series, a specialty series. So when you're ready for Shavasana, for corpse pose, you can sit like you're in meditation, or you can lay on your back or on your sides wherever you're comfortable. Go there, and then close your eyes. Pay attention to your breath. Breathe low in your belly, low in your diaphragm. Turn your senses, your awareness within, and I want you to observe all the work that you have done with this practice. Can you tell the difference in your shoulders right now as opposed to when you first started this? What differences have you made? And try not to judge the differences. Don't label them. Just observe them for what they are. No formal ending to our practice. Stay in your Shavasana as long as you'd like, and that's officially all that I have for you. I want to thank you all for watching and sharing your practice with me. It has been my pleasure. Namaste.